As a kid, I once crashed my go-kart so many times at a theme park that I cried. Another day, another Nintendo Direct, but this one was focused purely on Mario Kart World, and it was really a chance for Nintendo to show off all the features that game was going to have, really build up the hype and excitement for it, and maybe justify that price increase on the game. The video kicked off by showing some of the amazing locations in the world that players are going to be racing over, and then Nintendo wanted to show off some of the courses which were available. The first one was Mario Bros Circuit, which looked like your standard Mario Kart affair. Then the action moved on to Crown City, which seemed to have quite a bit of flying on the map as well. We then moved to Salty Speedway, which was full of, well, salt water. Then we saw Starview Peak, which is your typical ice track where there's a lot of slipping and sliding everywhere. And then we got to look at Boo Cinema, which in my opinion looks like one of the more aesthetic tracks, and it looks like it's got a lot of secrets up its sleeve as well. They then rattled off a few more tracks, but the whole map is going to be full of different races for us to go on, so I'm quite excited to see what's in there. And also, it wouldn't be a Mario Kart game without some nostalgia, and they've said that some of the old tracks are going to be making a comeback, but with a little bit of a twist on them, so what that is, we'll have to wait and see. And then there's the characters. Now, it looks like you've got your standard Mario affair with Mario, Luigi, Bowser, Peach, and then you've got, well, the cow. That said, it is nice to see Nintendo going back to the Mario characters, where Mario Kart 8 did kind of get a few other characters that weren't necessarily from the Mario Kart franchise. So it is nice to see a few old faces coming back, and some characters that you may not have expected. And once you've picked your character, you then pick the car that you're going to race in. There's no customization this time, so you haven't got to worry about that. Now, personally, I'm a fan of not having it there, but I know some die-hard fans are going to miss out on that. And then Nintendo wanted to show off the Grand Prix. This is what you'd expect from a Mario Kart game. It's 4 races, which are predetermined tracks. But the difference here is that you go between the tracks. You don't just teleport to the next one. It looks like there's a lot of options there for players to go on. One of the things that was really fun to see, and it was something that I did witness when I got my hands on time with the Switch 2, was there's a lot of environmental things to worry about. It is going to be interesting to see how these tracks work out and how those obstacles come into play. Oh, and at the end of that section, they drop the line,
and if you conquer all Grand Prix Cups, rumor has it that a certain colorful course will appear.
In my previous video, I did ask the question, how are you getting a Rainbow Road? Well, it appears we know part of the answer now. And then Nintendo talked more about the Knockout Tour game mode, which, if you can cast your mind back to my previous video where I went hands-on with the Switch 2, was the race where I didn't win. It looks as though, depending on which race you choose, will choose your starting and end position, and you'll race from one side of the map, essentially to the other. And then we got to look at some of the items. There's the coin shell, which when you fire it, looks as though it goes in a straight line and coins appear behind it. Now, for those of you that are uninitiated in Mario Kart, coins mean that the more you have, the faster you can technically go. You then have the ice flower, which, well, fires ice. There's the hammer, which looks as though it goes in an arch in front of you, and although it's far enough in front of you that you won't hit it, it does appear that enemies will. Then there's a Mega Mushroom, which if you've played the new Super Mario Bros. Games, you'll know that makes you, well, big. They then showed off Kamek, and he turns your other rivals into, well, other characters. They did mention that it may have some unknown effects when you're racing, so I'm intrigued to see what it does, and I kind of hope it has that bit of Mario quirky charm to it. They then showed off that some of the other race features from previous Mario Kart games are there, like steering assist and things like that, because it does make the game more accessible. You know, if you've used Mario Kart games in the past, you're probably not going to want them on, but it's nice to see that they were off by default in this one. It's also worth noting that gyro controls are coming back. Who didn't see that coming? It means that you're not just able to use the Joy-Cons whilst holding them in your hand, but if you want to put them into a bit of plastic and then pretend you've got a steering wheel in your hand, you can also do that. Ever since the Wii era, Nintendo has loved little bits of plastic that your controller goes into. We then saw Mario go into a drive-thru, which was a Yoshi's drive-thru. You'll get your food from Yoshi, and then your character will get a costume based on that food, which is a pretty interesting twist on it. What was really weird though was, when I got my hands on with the game, if you were choosing a character with a costume, it wasn't on the character itself. So if I wanted to play Luigi in a certain outfit, I had to go to a different version of Luigi. I didn't just choose Luigi and then choose the costume. Is that a minor point? Yes, but it will make it a little bit easier if I can just pick the character I want and then choose the outfit for them. Nintendo wanted to show off then some of the techniques that the racers in Mario Kart World can implement to get ahead in the race. The first one was the charge jump, which is essentially like you would to drift around a corner, but you just do it in a straight line. And what happens is when you're holding down the drift button, it will charge, and then after you release it, you will jump. And that'll get you onto rails, it'll get you onto walls, it'll get you to avoid certain attacks. So it looks like it's got a lot of utility there. Next thing they mentioned was something that was a little bit weird, which is the rewind feature. Now, those of you that have played games such as like Forza, for example, will know that rewind features aren't a new thing. However, what's interesting about this is you can rewind the track and it rewinds where you go, but only you. The rest of the world carries on as normal. So if you're in first, you could go all the way back to 24th. I guess this isn't meant to be used to correct you missing a turn or missing a boost. It's there if you want to learn the track. If you want to learn a shortcut and try to nail a jump for a shortcut so that next time you can get it first try, this is what it's there for. And it's a really interesting feature. And for those of you that were worrying it's not available in online modes, now, it wouldn't be a Mario Kart game if there weren't time trials, and you're going to be able to download ghost data from the Nintendo servers, so you've got some type of challenge to race against. So if you've got your friends that put ghost data up there, you can get that and you can just brag to them that you're better than them. I know I'll be doing that. And then Nintendo showed off the versus mode options, and the first one we saw was Grand Prix, where much like in classic Mario Kart games, you can do a Grand Prix as expected, where it's just race after race after race with no in-between bits against your friends. But they also made an interesting point that you can choose tracks which wouldn't normally be in a cup together, which means that the races between those tracks, if you choose to do them, could be a lot different to what you're expecting. There was then a team mode where you had 4 teams of 6. At the end of each race, it looks like it adds up the points for each team and compares them to each other. And then we had the battle modes, which we knew were coming back, but we didn't know in what way. And we're going to have Balloon Battle, which is your classic Mario Kart battle mode. And then there's also Coin Runners, which is another battle mode available. It looks as though all of these races aren't going to be taking place in the overworld and they're going to be in their own specific arenas. Will they be able to be found during free roam? But speaking of free roam, Nintendo wanted to do quite a bit with that, and we had a really good look at it. And it's really interesting to see some of the features that are coming to the overworld. There's going to be things like P-switches, which are going to put different missions out there for you. They showed one where you had to collect coins. There was one where it was like a time trial to get to a certain point. So what they unlock and what you get from it will be interesting, because they didn't really mention anything, or if it's just a way of honing your skills and becoming a better driver. There's also going to be hidden coins to pick up and also hidden panels as well. And what they all unlock was kind of left up in the air, so I'm not 100% on them, but knowing Nintendo, they're going to have some charm to them. I think the coolest thing for me about free roam is the fact that you can virtually go anywhere. It's one of those things where you don't really appreciate it until you do it, because it just means it's fun. It's something that you've never been able to do before in a Mario Kart game, and being able to do it in like Forza Horizons is great fun. But this is Mario Kart. I've never been able to just roam wherever I want, and now I can without any worries. I'm really interested to see how this world opens up, and really want to know what Nintendo's going to do with it to make it stand out, and I really hope they don't squander what they have here with it. They then talked about a photo mode, which is something I'll never use, but they did show a photo which made me feel so nostalgic that it hurt. It's this one. I can remember getting this game for my SNES when I was a kid, and this really does spark off that nostalgia for me. It's weird because in this era of modern gaming where everything wants to be realistic, it's games like this that remind me why I love video games. It's why I loved playing Donkey Kong Bonanza. It's why I loved the time that I spent with Mario Kart World. It just feels like a game, and they always used to feel like that to me, and this kind of brought that back. Nintendo then also talked about a lot of the online features that are coming. There's a lot of options there for playing with only one console and sharing it out, or multiple console play. When they were talking about the online features, they then mentioned that game chat is obviously coming. We already knew that though, because it was mentioned when they first announced game chat. There's also going to be the camera integration as well, where it can pick up some of your friends' face if you're playing locally together, or it can show you your friends' faces online. Probably not something I'm going to use. I'm not picking up a camera for it, but it is nice to see that they're integrated into it. And I guess if you are more of a social gamer in that respect, it is going to be a really nice feature for you. That's kind of an overview of that Direct. Now, a lot of what was shown, pretty much all of what was shown, was what we already knew already. There's a lot of stuff that I really wish Nintendo went a bit more into detail on. Things like, how can I drive all the trucks that are around? I've seen people doing it. Do I get anything for doing it? How some of the other areas look. Like, we haven't seen much of like Bowser's Castle, for example, or some of the other, iconic maps. Don't really know if there's a roadmap for any DLC or extra content, or if that's going to be included as a part of the Nintendo Switch Online Plus expansion pack membership. would have been really nice to see some stuff like that put in there. A lot of people online are saying that this was Nintendo's chance to justify the price increase. Yeah, I do agree it was their chance. Did they? I'm gonna say they didn't. I can fully see why it's a hard pill to swallow for a lot of gamers out there, myself included. It's not nice to know that games are gonna become extremely expensive. Now yes, you can get the inflation calculators out now, they've been everywhere these last couple of weeks. However, doesn't change the fact that it's still expensive, okay? Life ain't cheap right now. Nintendo did kind of squander the opportunity to show why they're charging as much as they are for Mario Kart World. They did it when the price increase happened for the Nintendo Switch games. They kind of backed it all up and emphasized why it's happening. They haven't this time, apart from saying,
"Hello, I like money."
but I don't want to be a person on YouTube who's making videos it's all doom and gloom, because there's enough of that out there, okay? I'm genuinely excited about these games. I'm genuinely excited about this console. However, I'm not so blinded by that excitement that I can't see that there are definitely some downsides and some negatives to it. Personally, I'm really excited to play this game. I can't wait to spend more time in that free roam mode, figuring out some of the secrets of that map and just having a blast. What I can say is I'm not looking forward to getting beaten by someone playing Toad online and having to hear that annoying scream every single time.